How to Draw Cartoons with John-Marc. Hey, it's John-Marc and welcome to my series on teaching you how to draw cartoons. And I'm so excited that you're checking out this episode because I don't have 3, but I have 4 different lessons to share with you. The first one is going to be a little lobster boiling up in a pot of water. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one. The second one, believe it or not, is going to be a background, but this one is going to have a little twist on creativity and understanding the foreground, midground, and background. Now, a lot to go over with that. Now, the third one is going to be a king. A little happy king. And the fourth and the final one is going to be a little robot. That one's going to be done on the computer, but practical tips and techniques, all of these you're going to be using your imagination and creativity. And if you have your paper and pencil, let's begin. All right, let's begin the lesson. And what you'll notice is this one is going to be really fun. Actually, it's going to be a little lobster in a bucket. Is it a cold bucket or is it a steamy hot bucket? With his expression, I think he's boiling in some little hot water right now. And I have the first shape right now is the bucket. And I'm just working out the little lobster, hanging his little head right there. His eyeballs will be right here. And there we go. This one's going to be very fun to watch. This is a lesson of using your imagination and keeping a personality of a character and a reaction to something that's happening. So sometimes you'll see my lessons. It's just a simple character. And now this one is interacting in water, and you can actually see the expressions. Like it's like, oh, it's hot, or it could be very cold too. But the expression and the personality is coming out in the picture where you don't have to say too much. It explains the whole feeling to you. All right, so I'm going to have this like his little claw over here on the far right, and another one on there on the bucket, and his tail will be like coming on top, coming kind of folding over. There's this little claw right now in his hand there. All right, his other claw. Good. The tail. All right. Now, little fins at the very end. There are going to be 3 of them. There we go. It's just like kind of smushed in there, really. And it's just the tail fin there. Okay, let's get to little claws there. There we go. Okay, give me the tone there. And yes, as you might already notice, this once again is on the computer versus traditionally drawing. But I have the effect of drawing traditionally, as you may notice. All right, let's get the little claw there, a little bit more of an angle. Okay, his arm here. Okay, that's looking good. I like that. His shoulder, the connecting point. You might need to take a reference of what a lobster looks like, or you can use your imagination. I actually, this lesson, I'm sorry, this little, I was just trying to talk and think at the same time with his eyeballs. Yeah, I'm going to leave his eyeballs open. When I was doing this little lobster, yes, I definitely had a reference of what lobsters look like. So how the eye and the whiskers over here and his claws and his tail fin would look like. All right, getting that all together. Let's get his mouth there. I like that. That's cute. I think he's looking really good. Okay, just about more than done. This is almost like step number 2, between step 1 and 2. More so, it's going to be a little heavier in some areas. Of course, as you know, my favorite thing is spots. So I'm going to put some little spots on there. And let's shade in the tail, a little of the fins back there. They give some little definition in there. All right, that's looking good. All right, and what else can we see here? The bucket, of course, we got to get the little handles on the side there. Although we got to fix the other side there. All right, there's a little belly. Yeah, let's get the little waves in the water so there is actual water in there. Okay, once again, is it hot water or cold water that he's in? I don't know, but let's put some bubbles coming out of there, you know, here and there. Maybe he's underwater and this is a bucket in water. All right, not so. Okay, that's looking, I like that. Yeah, working on the claw a little bit more. So here's an example that using this as a reference would be really good for you to do, using your imagination and change the lobster. Maybe he's in an ice cream bowl or in a pot to a different pot, and you change the whole style, but use this as a thumbnail to create a lobster in a pot. Your pot and your lobster totally different, but you can use this as a guide, should I say, to help you put that together. All right, Getting a little bit heavier with all the lines now around the character. The little lobster, the French lobster, that is. Yeah, get a little bit darker. Yeah, so it's now this one would be a real easy one that I should do as a color lesson to play around with. But I think he looks pretty good right now. All right, so at this time, let's sign and date, share with your family and friends.
Hey, now what about that little lobster in that pot of water? Wasn't he cute? What did you do different? Using your imagination, your creativity, change the style maybe, or add little other buddies in the hot tub with them? If you notice, you didn't see my hand because that was done on the computer. The same technique I do traditionally, light and go darker, applies there as well. So if you enjoy this lesson, the next one of the background is definitely something that you should check out. So stay tuned.
And now back to our show.
All right, all your creative ideas and imagination is definitely going to be a fun lesson on this cartoon background. And the point that I want you to really pay attention to is the depth. What do I mean by that? You're going to see in a whole lot more. So if you have your paper and pencil, let's begin.
So the first thing is basically I want to share with you is this background is not flat. It has a lot of depth to it. As you can see, I have the front foreground. I have a mid-ground where the trees that are on here, these middle trees here, and this other tree all the way over here. And I also have some shrubs just behind the trees. And behind that, I have another valley, hills, mountains, whatever you want to use your imagination. And then the last layer I have is the sun and the sky. But all of it looks flat, but realistically, it's in my mind, it is a perspective. It's coming towards you as you can see that pathway. So what I'm doing now is just breaking it down into a 2-point perspective. Basically, he's going to share with you the different layers and share how they actually were created from the front to the middle to the behind the trees and the bushes. So this would be the sky right back there. That's the sky. All that. Okay, but I'm going to separate all these different layers. So in the very front, I have some of the hills there that you have with some rocks and some grass. This is just a simple representation. When I'm drawing, I have this in my mind, separating this stuff like this. Being an animator, this is something that's always something useful to know when your foregrounds are moving a little bit faster, slower, and backgrounds and so forth. Now, this spot would be right where the trees would be. Remember those little tall, narrow trees? Well, that's where they would be on that layer in my vision that I have when I'm creating this layer. Likewise, right down here, there's the other one. And as you know, the big tree all the way to the far left is on the same layer. It may not be in your vision, it could be even further back or closer. That's totally up to you. But this is just a simple rendition. Now, right behind those trees, I have a lot of shrubs very close, not as far away from like the first one to the trees. See, this is layer number 1 I just have here. The trees would be like layer number 2, and the shrubs back there are layer number 3. Now I have one way in the back, the hills and the mountains, whatever you want to use your creativity, thoughts on what it might be again. So that's behind the shrubs, as you can see. And that, I'm going to say number 4. Now, the fifth and last one is the sun, as we can see. That technically can even go further. It can go way back. The sun could be the furthest point. Clouds could be closer. And then I'm going to even have some flying birds. They could even be closer. But for this case study, I'm not going to go too far. I'm just going to make it very simple. Put all the sun, the clouds, and the birds on the last layer for right now. So here's some little birdies next to the clouds. There we go. Very simple. So that's the background right there. That's like the horizon. That's the last one. And like I said, it can go a lot more. A lot more. But we're not going to worry about that. Your eye is moving in this direction from the beginning all the way to the back. So what you're seeing is layer 1 right here, layer 2, layer 3, layer 4, and the 5th layer. put them all together, and that's the picture you get. Now watch this. Each layer in between does not have to be the equal distance between one another. That gives some nice creativity in there. So again, you can see the distance is big here, very small, medium, and medium once again. But the whole picture is that. In my mind, I have that 2D perspective with the layers breaking apart when I'm rendering it. That's what I see in my mind right now. So I hope you enjoyed this lesson.
Now, I hope that you enjoyed this lesson on that cartoon background, and it doesn't just apply to the background, it could be inside the house as well. The key thing I want you to think about is that depth of field and understanding when you're drawing, it's not just flat. Now, the same thing applies to coloring. That's going to be in future episodes for sure. Now, if you enjoyed this lesson, the little cartoon king coming up is definitely going to be a fun one, so stay tuned.
And now back to our show.
All right, all your kings out there and possibly queens, you can use your imagination, and even though it's a king, you may want to turn into a little queen. Perfectly fine. Change it to your style. Awesome. That's the key thing when you're watching all my episodes. Feel free to change it to match your style or what your imagination is taken off to right now. So if you're ready to watch this lesson, the king, let's begin.
All right, let's begin the lesson, and you'll see I'll be working with my mechanical pencil, and I am going to give you some neat tricks on how to build a head. In this case, this little cartoon king without a crown, as I said. So I have the basic shape there, the circle for his nose, eyes, ears, and mouth. I'm going to be creating his jaw. I just quickly put like the top where his hairline, should I say, be. And here I'm just creating some little fun little cartoon eyes. Note the one to the far left is bigger than the right, and that's that perspective. That gives you that curvature around the head there. The mouth, and here's the ear. When doing this little cartoon, you can change it to your style, but try to understand the distance, like the ears on left and right, and the eyes and the chin here, that whole building of the character's head. Now, when you change it to your style, that's perfectly fine. But what I was going to share, just a thought, is when you're drawing this, it could also be any type of character. So it doesn't have to be this exact same king without a crown. You can turn into a little female queen, or you can turn into a bear or a lion or a dog or a cat, any character in that matter. Just be very creative. It's the building blocks, the first thing that I laid down there. And as you can see here, that jaw, it helped me with his beard. So just imagine if this was a big teddy bear and it had a big furry chin that you had on there. Same principle. And I have his eyes here, his eyelids, with eyebrows on the top there. All right, that's looking nice. I like that. So here, I'm just going to quickly just put like he has a big shirt on, like at the collar, should I say. And I'm just going to give him a little medallion on the side there. That's a shoulder here and over there. So when you're creating these cartoons that you see that I'm sharing with you right now, I like to do a lot of overlapping with my lines. And I'll get into that really soon. Now I'm going a little slower. This would be considered my step 2, a little bit firmer. There's an eyelid there on the top there and the eye there. And it's just shading the eyebrow right there. Okay. A little bit there. Okay. And what I'm going to share is when you're creating lines, always have them not ending and overlapping is a nice thing. This is my style. That's my preference. It's not right or wrong. It's just my thoughts. And I just sharing with you right now. So the same thing with the hair. As you can see, the beard, how it's overlapping. The line doesn't connect all the way through. And the quick line there, just change at the top of the hairline there. Yeah, as you can see there, it's overlapping. Okay. And a little hair hanging in front of his face there. That's it. And you can see right there, that's the overlapping there on the hairline there. Top there by his ear. Shade that in for his neck. All right. On the bottom there, a little heavier. Okay, so now watch when I shade with the beard. So I'm giving the curvature And then I'm coming here, it's almost going, now it's going straighter, straighter. Now it's turning in the other directions. That gives you that whole feel like it's a fluff. Really, really coming towards you. It's key when shading, no different than coloring. So when I'm coloring, I also have that in my thoughts as well, having that motion with my hand. And here's, let's just give some little lines, a little pattern on his collar there. Going around there. Okay, yeah, you know what? Let's get that little, if it was white and these are little black little patterns in there. All right. That is a little king. I didn't put the crown because I wanted to make sure that I had attention to his face on there, but that would be a fun lesson to do. Actually create different shapes crowns, That's future. I can write that one down as a thought. So I'm just going to quickly just make some patterns behind him, like if he's on against a wall or what have you, and just do a little cross hatching there, a little on the side, getting bigger, 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 and so forth. Yeah, and that's a simple. So from here, let's sign and date and share with your family and friends. Thanks for watching this lesson.
I enjoy doing this little cartoon king a lot. He's a fun character. He kind of looks like me. I'm not a king, but I'm a artist. Using imagination, I could be a king. What did you do different? Maybe changing the style. Maybe you had some background and had a castle back there, or maybe a dragon. Rawr. That'll be phenomenally fun to be doing. Now, if you enjoy this lesson, the little cartoon robot would be just as fun. So if you have your paper and pencil, let's begin.
All right, let's begin the lesson, and you'll notice I will be working off of my computer, but it'll have the same feel that I'm doing traditionally on paper. And I'm just working on the basic shapes right now. At this point, feel free to use your imagination and change it to any shape and style as well. But just simply said, this is a very simple lesson, a very quick one. But I just want to really emphasize when you're creating something like an object, like a robot, you may need to have some reference and using creativity and do some thumbnails first. These quick little thumbnails can give you some quick little sketching on the side, not the complete robot, maybe how his eye may look, or how his legs or arms are going to look, or how his mouth is going to look. And you could have a whole bunch of these on that individual paper or several, and then you take all those elements or components and you do this little final rendering. This is exactly how I did this little robot. I had several little different drawings and I compiled them to make this one, thumbnails, sketches, and none of those sketches were final. All right, so here we go on the side here. I have his eyes. I have this like this little top of his head there you can see. And I'm getting his antennas together. And now I'm just going to be working on his little type of shape of his face there. This is like a two-tone. Like he could be a robot with a beard on that part. How I would just clean that up a little bit with his mouth there, a little open. He's like, yo, where's my ice cream? All right, so here's one of the legs I'm working on. I'm going to make like 3 that you can see, but he might have like 4 in my mind. This is a good lesson to follow my 2-point perspective lessons. If you've seen those before on my episodes, more of those will be coming because perspective is a real big thing when you're working with robots for sure, because basically what they're really learning is how to think about that object in your mind and how you can rotate it. It is 3D, but even perspective when you're drawing it on paper right now. That's the second leg there. And let's work on this third one in the front. As I say, this is a real quick lesson for sure. It's not going to be a hard one. Got that little detail in there. Just sketching away. There we go, the little leg there. And when you're thinking right now in drawing, what type of environment is the little robot in? Is he in outer space? Is he hanging out with some of his buds? Is he just on touring a local planet? Be creative with that and do that on another paper, the drawing, should I say, and then compile them together so you don't have to really constantly erase. Oh, I don't like that background, or I didn't like what I drew in the back, and that's something that you want to try to avoid at times. So I'm going a little heavier right now, getting more detail with the actual uh, robot here. As you can see, my pencil's a little heavier. That's like my final step 3 when I'm working on these lessons in the past. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Simple little guy. Nothing too complex. What colors do I see right now? That's later on. I'm going to color this on. It's color it in. It's more of like purples I see in my head, like steel blue and purples. All right, a little bit doing good there. The eyeball, that's kind of fun looking. I like that. You get a little bit different on there. Okay, you know, this looks like a human eyeball, but it might be like a robot. Could be just like an LED light or just a light bulb inside. So you may not have a full eyeball like that. All right, I think, you know, I like what I did. So at this time, as always, let's sign and date. Share with your family and friends.
Hey, I'm back. I'm not a robot. I'm a robot artist. How did you enjoy this little cartoon lesson on that robot? Wasn't it kind of fun? You notice once again, you didn't see my hand because that too was done on the computer. It's the same technique as that little lobster, starting lighter and darker, the different shapes. What did you do different? Did you change the whole shape and size? Did you add some more characters? Maybe he was flying in outer space or on a planet with a whole bunch of civilizations behind him, like buildings. That'd be really cool. Robot village. Now, all from these lessons that I shared with you today is really great to understand using your imagination, that drawing technique lighter and going heavier as you get more involved with the picture. What about that little lobster? Same thing. What about that little background perspective? Something new, and more of that will be coming. And of course, that king. No, not me. And of course, that little robot we did. These lessons are something that I really want you to enjoy, and future lessons will be coming with a lot of excitement. My website is jmg-studio.biz. Thanks for watching this episode, and have a great day.
Ocean City is the place to be if you want to see all the fish in the sea. Rich is a joker and Mel is super fast. Jammy and Jelly and Yo-Yo are a blast. Jellica's a beauty and all the friends agree. They're more than a family. They're friendly fish, friendly fish. There's nothing better than spending the day with friendly fish, friendly fish. Always on the go, always wanna play. There's so much adventure waiting here at the park. Just watch out for the piranhas, even some of the sharks. But if you're looking for some fun, here they are. They're friendly fish, friendly fish. They are a fish's best friend.